Don't ever get a tech deck. I got a tech deck recently. Got a little Plan B tech deck.
Those are a lot bigger than ones I remember.
I don't know if they might have gotten a little bit bigger. They're about the size that I remember them though. That's all I do when I'm at my desk now. I just do little pop shove-its and shit the entire time.
I used to be big in those.
Dude, so good. So good. It's better than a fidget spinner. I'd much rather have a tech deck than a fidget spinner. Can we do first? Yeah. Oh, hey everybody. Ready to talk about vape stuff? News?
Some stuff.
Stuff and things.
Stuff.
I've got it. What would we do without vaping?
What we do without Jim?
I'd be so lost without Jim, dude. He's just a wealth of knowledge.
Guy.
Teach me something, bye. I'll stay off your lawn. Tell me I have to stay extra hydrated with this vaccine. Yep. So.
You should always be hydrated.
Well, yeah, and I stay pretty well hydrated. I mean, I work outside. It's good to stay hydrated, but I've taken it upon myself. They didn't explicitly say it, but I'm just not going to drink it all for like a good, I don't know, 48, 72 hours and just hydrate. I got home and I opened the fridge and I saw beer and I was like, oh, nope.
It's like, damn it.
Yeah, that's all I wanted, but
you know they're
I can
out there,
wait.
don't you?
Stay hydrated. A bunch of IPAs in the fridge. Is that another Poonsauce?
Yeah, the last one. I said the best for last. There's one more. It's a Firestone Walker Sneaky one. But it's a 2016 aged one. So
That sounds really good. Barrel aged?
Yeah.
So good.
I think it's a Belgian quad, if I remember.
Alright, I'm a little jealous of that here. Stay hydrated, man.
Yeah, I'm not drinking anything, so.
Yeah.
I guess my excuse is better.
If anybody hears screaming children, they all just got home.
What's up? Your voice of the Tool Live 1992 video I'm watching.
Where do you come from?
Another galaxy.
You know they're out there. You know they're out there.
Just my kiddo giving me 50 cents.
Yeah. They're put your 2 cents into it. I guess if it was 2 pennies.
That's that's her rent for the month. She's paying me.
Give a year, might be able
You
to
know
buy.
they're out there,
frickin'
don't you?
See, a year. It was daily or monthly?
Oh, is it daily 50 cents? It was daily 50
No.
cents.
I think it's this is the first time. So I don't know. We haven't written up a contract or anything. There's no, lease agreement or anything yet.
Plus,
So.
that's like sweatshop wage.
Yeah, I would say.
It's like, go back downstairs and make your shoes.
Make me some Nikes.
It's like, it's time for us to do this.
Oh, we're gonna do the thing. All right, let's do the thing.
Boom.
In the history of television, great men and women have brought us up-to-the-minute news as it happens. From the moon landing to the dangers of secondhand smoke. Sometimes
Oh, I forget
they
that we have
even make
a
us
little
laugh.
video.
The one thing that stays the same, everyone wants to know what's in the news. From the Voss News Network, your hosts, Poonsauce McNasty, and to give the show some credibility, Logan exhales. And now, back to the studio.
Boom. And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of What's in the News. You know who we are by now, and you know what we do. But
What do we
before
do?
I don't know what we do. I think we just talk
You
about
just
it
said,
random.
okay, does everybody else know what we
I
do? We
think-
just don't know what we do? Is that,
I think
is that
that's
what
how
it
it
is?
goes. I don't know if that works. It's like, you guys know what we do, but us, on the other hand, not so much. Not so much.
What's up, baby?
But today,
Okay.
we got a
Do
bunch
you
of
want to
stuff.
say hi to everybody? Me and Corey are live right now.
Hi, Beck.
Special guest!
Look at that.
It's my wife, Beck, everyone. Beck? Everyone, wife, Beck.
Hi, everybody.
But before, yeah, we drink and know things, I guess. That, not tonight with the drinking part.
Not
of things.
tonight. I know things, but I'm not currently drinking.
Yeah,
I
that's-
gotta stay hydrated, guys.
Right? You got your COVID shot. You got to hydrate.
I did. I got my COVID shot today.
Yeah, so. But before
I
we
was
get into
told
everything,
explicitly to stay hydrated, so
it wouldn't be a semi-vape show if we didn't
Just take
do
it all with you.
the buffets,
Oh.
buffets, what are you vaping, all that kind of shit. So, Logan, take it away. What the hell are you vaping on?
okay. I have a real quick buffet. First
is
up, pouch of the day, Rogue lemon honey, fantastic stuff. Next up, I've got the Snowcaps Avalanche 20x700 with a Karma on top with an Amber Chiquita from DHD. I think it's called Amber. I'm not
It just
100%
looks
sure
alt.
on the name.
It just looks old.
In that, I have some Blue Devil Masshole Vapors. Fantastic. It's like a black currant lemonade with a touch of blue raz.
That sounds delicious.
So good. And then last up, I've got the mix with the Nevermore RTA from Unicorn on there.
That just looks
In-
clean.
What's
That
that?
just looks clean AF.
Oh, dude, it's so good too. It
Kind of
vapes
got
so
that
nice.
weird kind of dog poo sitting out for a couple of day brown going there as well.
Yeah, it's so good. The thing I like about the toffee on this mix, like that color, is in different lights, it's a whole different brown. You know what I mean? It's really good though.
Logan on the
and then
weekdays is different shades of brown.
some Rouillon Rouge. That is a apple vanilla tobacco, and it's just fantastic. And that's it. That's what I've got. What do you got this week, man?
I'll pick up the one I was vaping on when you were talking. Got the Lazy Vapor DI75C with the Dwarf DL on top of there. Inside of there, I opened up this bottle that's been sitting in the drawer. It's the Hometown Hero Legend, the banana rum. I guess this was like the first rendition they did before they changed it to like a banana cream kind of situation, but it's definitely still have that cream and banana, but it kind of gives me like a Malibu rum kind of flavors in it as well. like
Nice.
coconut.
Little coconutty.
pineapple kind of stuff going on. But it's delicious. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. It sounds good. It sounds refreshing. It sounds like a nice summertime vape.
Yeah, it's nice. And then let's see what else. I got the mix GT4S. It's like this
Nice.
is always in rotation. And then inside of there, got some Speakeasy from Prohibition. The nice Rip Your Float. And then finally, like the one setup that I haven't been able to put down just because it's perfection in my opinion. The Abis. The Abyss with the Ether Bridge in there with the little Steez Brones MTL, and I just want everybody to hear that. I call this my Tommy gun, and I'm about to show you guys why.
Mm-hmm.
This thing vibrates when I hit it because the crackle is so good. So if you haven't gotten yourselves some Steez Brones, some Breeze Tones mouth to lungs,
Yeah, I just got to get some Breeze Tones coils just in general.
so good.
I have
So
to try them at some point.
Good.
At some point, I will.
And inside of there, I think I got my new favorite mango in there. I don't know, I'm not biased because it's named after me, but some McMango's Mayhem.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's
There you go.
absolutely delicious.
I've had it. It's a good mango. It's a good mango.
And then just disposable to grab whenever I want a little bit of nick to my face. And is there anything else on there? Nope, I think that's pretty much it. So why don't we get into things, guys? We got a couple things to talk about this evening before we head on out of here later in like an hour or so. But first off, we're gonna kind of go into this UK. If a lot of the stuff, if you want to keep up to what we kind of talk about here, our good friend Mr. Jim McDonald, the main writer for news over at Vaping 360, he with how good he is up to date with the news section at Vaping 360, he hands us stuff to talk about on a silver platter practically. And it's great
absolutely.
because he's always up to date and all this new stuff going around. So the first thing we're going to talk about, which I'm actually really happy to talk about this one because I hate the WHO just because they're just ridiculous. But we all know if you want to follow along, I'll post this link in chat for you guys right now. UK parliamentary inquiry challenges WHO's anti-vaping stance, which we all know by now the World Health Organization is kind of in a not good situation with how they feel about vaping,
I'm just going to be over here enjoying my highly flammable e-liquid while you go through this.
So I'm going to go through this a little bit and talk to you guys about it. So
Thanks, Who.
A parliamentary study group in the United Kingdom has called for the British government and health authorities to challenge the World Health Organization's position on vaping at an upcoming international treaty conference. The UK is the largest and most prominent country to advocate vaping as harm reduction tool for people who smoke, but until now it has not pressed the WHO, who can change its prohibitionist stance. So I think do we know when that conference is supposed to be taking place?
That I don't know.
Let me see if it's on here. I really want to know when that conference is happening because I would love to see if they have like a live kind of situation on it to where you can watch it and just have the people from the UK just rip them apart for their stance on it, and that would be the most glorious thing because
it just says upcoming international treaty
conference.
So
the recommendation came in a report by the All-Party Parliamentary Group, APPG, on vaping issued after a 4-month inquiry into the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, FCTC, and the FCTC is an international treaty organization with 182 members states that serves as the anti-tobacco harm of the WHO. The parliamentary investigation came in response to the WHO's encouraging and applauding bans on vaping. So, we all know the UK is the front runner, I would say, when it comes to harm reduction and using vaping as harm reduction.
Yeah, as far as vaping goes,
within a country itself, because the UK government is using it to be the easiest and the best way to get somebody off cigarettes. They have it on billboards, they have it in hospitals, you name it. They're promoting vaping as a safer alternative. To where the WHO, World Health Organization, comes in and absolutely, I don't even want to talk about their stance on it because there's stuff that they say about it is just outrageous.
It is, yeah.
Where,
it's
like you said, the liquid that we're vaping on is highly flammable, is one of the things that they say, which is just, what? It makes no sense. So I'm really interested to see how this kind of, if this challenge happens.
The FCTC is just outdated.
Yeah.
And it just needs to be trashed, essentially.
Because I'm trying to think if this is like an international treaty conference and the UK is coming so hard on the World Health Organization. Imagine what kind of like flashback or kind of feedback that other countries might get from this as well, to where they might be going to health groups in the UK saying, okay, let's see your info. Let's kind of like trade info kind of situation.
Sure. Yeah.
Where I think that would be a really cool thing to see, to where the UK fights back against the World Health Organization to pretty much solidify their stance on the vaping thing and kind of prove that the World Health Organization is just full of
I
it.
think the challenge alone already speaks volumes, but
right.
I don't think we're gonna see a massive change in the FCTC, unfortunately. You know, but just the sole challenging of it speaks volumes.
Well, because from what we know, the World Health Organization is trying to come in and create health laws in the UK.
Well, yeah, I mean it's all Bloomberg at this point.
Yeah, it's just Bloomberg funding the World Health Organization.
He was appointed their ambassador of non-communicable diseases.
Yeah, let this guy be a spokesperson.
Yeah, I mean it's just all Bloomberg.
It's all just Bloomberg propaganda that everybody in chat right now already knows about.
Yeah, hopefully.
He's just a giant turd sandwich.
He is a turd sandwich. That's a great way to
just
describe
the biggest
it.
turd sandwich in existence. And
yeah.
So if you want to keep up with this, I know there's different. Let me see. There's a couple pages on Twitter that I've been keeping up with.
I will say, the one thing about the UK and the EU, I guess in general, is while they're the UK is very pro vaping. The issue is they aren't entirely pro tobacco harm reduction.
Right.
Snus is still banned, even though there are literal mountains of evidence to show how safe snus is, and it's still banned. So I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah,
I know everybody loves the UK, and I agree with them on all things vapor related, but we just disagree on all things tobacco harm reduction related. I
Which
suppose.
in situations where it's like, you ask for, how does this phrase go? You ask for a penny, you get $1 kind of situation where it's like, I don't know if that's even right.
I have never heard that saying. I don't know where
I
you're
literally
going
just pulled
with
that
it,
out of
but-
my ass right now. Don't listen to what I have to say about stupid phrases because I have no idea what I'm talking about 95% of the time.
But yeah, I think the UK challenging the FCTC is an excellent move.
Yeah.
Hopefully it encourages more challenges to the FCTC in general. And the UK speaking out against it. Is,
I would just love to see.
They're like essentially threatening to withhold funding, which I think is a great thing. I think they're right in their case. I just wish the UK would like wholly embrace tobacco harm reduction.
I think in time that might happen
hopefully.
Because
it's hard to ignore.
Your countries like
Sweden and Norway are right there. Like,
yeah.
It's hard to ignore all that science. It's hard to ignore the population studies. It's hard to ignore the drop in cancer rates in those countries, and that's all thanks to snus.
I think they will eventually kind of.
Mowgli says, "In for a penny, in for a pound." Is that the saying? I've never heard that saying.
I'm gonna go with that one because that one makes the most
Sounds
sense
good.
to what I was saying. So
Yeah, sounds good.
yeah, I'll Mowgli, you're right on that one, even though it's probably what I wasn't trying to figure out and put in the words. But I'll take that one. That one works. But going back to the whole snooze thing and everything with the UK not embracing it, like I said, I think it will happen over time. It's just when it comes to neighboring countries, when it comes to regulation, it always seems like no matter where you are in the world, that a lot of regulation that gets put through in certain countries kind of spread eventually to neighboring countries. It seems like how you look at how the U.S. is with their legislation on vaping, and then you see what's happening in Canada right now. It's just, even though when Canada they put out their stance on vaping, and now there's a full wide Canadian flavor ban in the works.
I will say I think the U.S. and our magnificent exportation of misinformation is unique. We're a world leader in misinformation, and what spews from America really ripples across the world. And I love that the UK is really kind of just taking a hard stance and putting their foot down.
Well, yeah, because they're the ones that kind of led the way with having a lot of these the best studies that you could even show somebody coming out of the UK, because some of the best doctors in the world are in the UK working with.
You have the Royal College of Physicians, which speaks for itself.
Yeah, should you even question them? In my opinion,
I think you should always question them.
Well, yeah,
I think that
but if there's a group of individuals that are putting public health first, and that a group that I can go in and trust the information that they're giving, it would of course be the Royal College of Physicians.
Sure. I mean, they were Royal College of Physicians they were the first ones to raise alarm about smoking with evidence, with substantial evidence.
So anybody that's in the UK watching right now, if you have any information on when this kind of international treaty conference is going to happen, because I don't know if you guys will find out more information, let me or Logan know if you guys find anything out about when this conference is happening, because we both would like to kind of either listen in on this if we can, or something that there'll probably be something put out, like an article kind of telling what happened.
I'm sure Jim will have a follow-up.
Oh yeah, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But time to move forward back to the States here for some more kind of good cannabis news, I guess you could say. Because
we get to talk about weed?
Yeah, we could talk about weed again, because last time we talked about this, we talked about New York kind of going rec, which was really cool. But now we have 2 more states that are kind of going in the frame of things. We have Virginia, and now we have New Mexico. But let's go to Virginia first, because it's closest to you.
Sweet, that's the one that I have open, so I'm really glad that you picked Virginia.
This article was originally on February 6, 2021. Virginia will legalize possession and sales of marijuana soon, making it the 16th state with legal recreational cannabis. Both the House and the state legislature passed the legalization bills Friday, and the governor, Ralph Northam, has already said that he will sign the final legislation into law. So while now there is an up-to-date kind of... what I love about Jim McDonald's articles as well, say if he puts out an article and there's an update regarding that article, there's a giant blue box on the top of the article that you go in that pretty much gives you... yeah. It's the first thing you're going to read.
I'm sure that it's easier on Jim to do that than it is to write a whole new article.
Yeah. So let's talk about this update was put out April 7th, and the Virginia legislature has voted to move up the effective date for legal cannabis possession and home cultivation by almost 2.5 years, instead of making the effective date the same time that the state launches legal recreational cannabis market on January 1st, 2024. So the original plan was for the whole state recreational, I would say, dispensary market would open up in 2024.
A legal recreational market, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know, I think 3 years to... Well, I know that kind of stuff takes time, but, I don't know, for my opinion, 3 years to get that stuff ready.
I believe this just opens up possession and home cultivation.
Yeah.
I believe the rest of things are still kind of later down the road.
So, parts of the law will now take effect starting July 1st of this year, which includes, on July 1st, residents over the age of 21 will be allowed to possess up to 1 ounce of cannabis flower and grow up to 4 plants for personal use. And then after the original law that passed in February was sent to Governor Ralph Northam, he formally submitted substitute language to the legislature, which advanced the possession and homegrown dates. Northam also urged the legislature to move up the timeline for expunging some marijuana convictions, which is another great thing. Because that's what... Well, yeah, let's see how that works. Both houses of the legislature passed the amended versions of their bills today, and the House then passed the Senate version of the bill, which enacts the law immediately, according to Marijuana Moment. So that's good news for the state of Virginia. It means starting July 1st, you're going to be able to possess an ounce of marijuana and be able to grow up to 4 plants. That's awesome. But because knowing that you can buy seeds anywhere practically, I mean, it's not illegal to ship marijuana seeds. It's not the actual plant yet. So being able to do that opens up worlds of possibilities for medical use in the state of Virginia. I know that medical is there's already medical marijuana in Virginia already, but for people that either used it to help with some kind of pain that was not eligible for the marijuana medical card in that state, now you have an option, which is always, when it comes to me and Logan being harm reductionists, that's an awesome thing to see more states getting into the swing of things. So we'll see what happens on July 1st and see how that kind of market starts growing in the state of Virginia. Maybe eventually down the road we'll find and see what they're going to be doing with the convictions of people that have gotten arrested for cannabis use or that are in jail right now for either possession or selling or that kind of situation.
The biggest part of this.
Because with it only being some convictions, and it's just, I'm on edge of that. Because
Yeah, I'd like to know more, I
Yeah.
guess, as to what the prerequisites are for getting, an expungement. But this just looks like Virginia is tackling or attempting to tackle the social justice side of this first.
right.
And it's just a slow go for Virginia.
Yeah,
It
I
just
think
looks like a slow rollout. I mean, New York dropped I don't know, what should just be the gold standard, I think, for cannabis legalization in this country. And Virginia's just kind of like, we're just going to ease into this, but we're going to speed this part up. We'll recognize the social justice aspect of this, which is great. I think that's a key part of all this. My question is really, though, like, why not all of it?
Yeah, I know. It's just
I know that, it takes
there's probably a
time.
bunch
Come
of
on.
politics
Come on,
that have to go with
it's
it.
2021. If there has not been any kind of plan yet for legal cannabis in Virginia in any way, like there should be, and we should just roll it out.
You guys, you gotta think about it.
Why are we waiting?
You're around the states that probably within the U.S. grow the largest amount of tobacco when it comes to getting towards North Carolina and South Carolina down there. Which I think North Carolina is one of the biggest tobacco growers in the states, I believe. That is the state that grows the most, I think. Something like that.
Or close to it.
Yeah. So, looking at the situation with this, if it was something that was going on within the states, within like the Bible Belt, I can see this kind of thing happening. It would be a lot more logical for that, because just how the traditions and kind of taking a lot of religious side of things into account of making laws down there as well. So it's, who knows?
I think it's great. I just think Virginia can do better.
Yeah, we're at 18 states now to approve recreational cannabis, and once it gets that majority side of things, federal legal's right around the corner at that point. Federal legal is right around the corner anyways.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely it is.
But moving on to the next state to talk about, which is kind of following suit to what New York did when it comes to pretty much just putting it in, signing into law, and we're good. Because we're talking about New Mexico. That's a really cool thing. On April 12th, the law was signed, bill into law, which is the legal market will not take place for over a year. Personal possession up to 2 ounces of cannabis flower, and will become legal June 29th of this year. So June 29th is when possession of marijuana, like up to 2 ounces, will be legal. But starting with it comes to the recreational market, you're not going to be seeing that for probably another year, because a bunch of things have to be put in date.
Regulations, licensures, all sorts of stuff has to happen.
Dispensaries have to be built if they're building new
I don't
locations.
expect to see a dispensary in New York State for probably 2 years.
Yeah, I can see that. But this is another state that pretty much brought out all the elements of all the stuff that's going to be involved in this law. So let's go through them real quick. So first one is adults can possess up to 2 ounces of flour, 16 grams of concentrate, and edibles containing up to 800 milligrams of THC, which, yeah, that's a reasonable amount. That's a good amount of stuff to have. So individual home cultivators can grow up to 6 mature plants with a household of total of 12. So I would think that's kind of going to 2 plants a person. I think 6 plants with 12 people. Okay, so I get it now. Okay, so if you have a household of 12 people, you can grow up to 6 plants. I'm curious when it comes to
I think what that statement is similar to New York's, where you can have 6 mature plants with a household total of 12. So you could have 12 you could have 6 more starters.
Okay, so you can have
that way you can keep that 6 mature plant rotation going, and you don't just have to have a big stall.
Yeah.
So you can have up to 12 total. The other 6 have to be in like a premature stage.
That's a lot of plants.
Sure.
Because I've seen how big these plants can be.
I would like to know what is the home amount that you can have.
Yeah.
Because adults can possess up to 2 ounces of flour. That's great. In New York State, you can possess up to 3 ounces with you, but you are allowed to legally have 5 pounds at home.
Yeah, that's a lot of weed.
If you have 6 mature plants and you harvest, you're gonna hopefully have more than 2 ounces of flour out of that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm curious as to what their home limitation is. In New York, it's 5
Right.
pounds. So
Let's see. Recreational cannabis will have a 12% retail tax in addition to New Mexico's existing 8% sales tax between 2025 and 2020.
20% tax retail.
Between 2025 and 2030, the tax will increase 1% each year. So I think that's only for 5 years that they're going to keep on increasing the tax. So I think by the end of 2030, it would be up to 25%.
Yeah. I mean, unless the existing state tax
Goes down.
rises alongside of it or whatever, yeah. I
And
believe that just affects the 12% cannabis tax.
right, and this only affects the recreational side. The medicinal cannabis will not have an excise tax, so that's
Right.
good to know. And municipalities can use their zoning authority to limit the number of location of cannabis businesses and will not be able to ban them altogether, so, which is cool.
You can
So-
have one.
Yeah.
It's essentially like that's what they could do.
Because I remember when it became legal in this state, the town I lived in voted against it. They voted against having a dispensary in the town I live in, which, it's whatever. There's a couple that are
I mean,
20 minutes down the road from me. So when it first became legal, when I went to go purchase the one there was only like one open in the area that was like an hour drive south of me that I had to do. But now a lot of the stuff that have been medical in my area have also gone to recreational, so it's like I can walk into the same dispensary my mom goes into now and
Yeah.
purchase for myself when she only used to use it because it was strictly a medical dispensary. So let's see what else is there. If there is a statewide cannabis shortage after the recreational market opens, the state can force its licensed producers to reserve up to 10% of their products for medical patients. That is awesome. I love seeing stuff like that because it depends on how many people in the state like to smoke or just want to just go batshit crazy and buy as much as they possibly can to where there's a possible situation
I think
for shortage.
I think it's good that they are, they have a safety net in place for medical patients.
Well, it's like most of the states that have medical and have rec, there's always going to be that safety net because you want to make sure that these people that are getting the product for medical reasons, with helping with pain or using it if they have cancer kind of situation, you want them to still be able to get their hands on this stuff and not have to wait because a bunch of...
It's medicine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to make sure that patients get their medicine. So.
And so I think every state that I've seen gone rec has had that at least 10% of their products like in reserve for them. I would say within all of them. I know Illinois does that, and I know. But if I'm thinking it eventually goes legal federally, that you could start seeing to where you're going to start seeing like statewide partnerships. So it's like if you have, let's say for my example, Illinois and Wisconsin, if it goes federally legal, so let's say if Illinois gets a shortage, Wisconsin or any sistering state is fine. They'd be able to get stuff from there and kind of. It's
things
just
would have to change in the law regarding, crossing state lines with cannabis and things like that.
But I feel like if that was like a federal kind of law they put into place, that would all be put in black and white. There's going to be every little piece of information that you could possibly ask
if
for
it becomes federally legal. I mean, some states may have, I guess if it was only for purposes for medical patients, sure, but otherwise states may still have an issue with it just because your state is losing that sales tax or that
right,
that money from you buying and then coming back to the state or something like that. But
yeah, so we'll see with that. Let's see what else there is. Final one is, of course, whenever cannabis becomes recreational legal, there's always they always create a new licensing department in the state government, which is either the Cannabis Control Division or anything has to do with cannabis in the name. But there's always going to be a specific department being created in a statewide government to kind of be in front of the protocols and everything going on. That's just like a blanket thing that I think is in every single bill. There's always
there has to be.
Yeah, because you're not just going to put it out there and just leave it not.
Yeah, sometimes it becomes like part of the alcohol and tobacco in that state, or sometimes it becomes part of another department, but there always has to be.
Wasn't New York having that same situation, or did they create a new?
Kind of, but then there's also a new agency.
Yeah, because I know when we were talking about it, they created a new agency, but it was also being overlooked by the agency that handles alcohol and all that kind of other stuff.
Yeah.
So
alcohol and tobacco. So
that's a good thing.
There has to be some kind of agency or department to handle all of that.
Okay, but here's another thing. Talk about cannabis containing more than 0.3% of Delta-9 THC remains federally illegal, although congressional Democrats hope to pass the bill this year that would legalize marijuana. Legislation in New Mexico means more than 1/3 of the U.S. states have passed bills for voter referendums to approve recreational cannabis. 1/3 of the country. Remember 5 years ago you thought like, wow, this is a big step I think we've taken in the past 5 years when it comes to states being recreationally legal.
Yeah, absolutely. In the last decade, it's just been... it's been a slow roll across the states, but...
And there's 38 states that have some form of medical cannabis program, which is good. I think at this point, with all the stuff out there should be at 50 states by now, in my opinion.
We should be, but...
Yeah.
We're not.
Old congressional mindsets kind of get in the way of that sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely they do.
But
we'll get there, though.
It is what it is. It's something that's going to take time. Who knows what we might see by 2022 up to 2023. We might have federally legal in that time, and that would be a great step for this country, I think.
Yeah,
fantastic steps, and I feel like that would increase job revenue. People that are cultivators that are growing other things can get into cultivation when it comes to growing cannabis, all that kind of thing. It would just create avenues for markets that are either slowly dying and be able to, like, let's say if you're in an area that their farming industry is kind of not at its greatest, that will boom it back up because they can start farming other things and cultivating other things.
I would like for the U.S. to just get rid of the Controlled Substances Act in general. But moving cannabis out of the Schedule 1 position is just a much needed thing in this country. Much needed thing.
Which is, hey, one step at a time. I'm happy with how the steps are taken. It's not like we can't expect everything to be good to go when it comes to cannabis legal. But seeing the step-by-step, state-by-state kind of gradually growing, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that more states decriminalize all drugs.
Well, yeah, how many states are doing that right now? I think it's only Oregon now, right?
Just Oregon.
Just Oregon? Okay, so we'll see if the sistering states, maybe I don't think California is going to get to that point.
Well, Washington maybe.
Washington I could see being the closest. I don't think, trying to remember if Idaho is connected to that. Because I know it kind of does, dips down a little bit. I don't know if that's... I don't know my states where it's how they're connected to a different state. So
well, it's ridiculous. State lines are absurd.
Yeah, but I could definitely see Washington being the next state to kind of go that route.
I should just get a map.
Just like a blank map.
Yep.
You should have a blank map and then have 50 darts with each one having a state on there. So you're like, okay. Let's see.
I should have different colored darts. I'll have green darts for weed is good here. Great. And then I'll have red darts for oh, they have a flavor ban. Or
let's be honest here. I feel like it would be the best if there were those magnet darts because you don't want to put because you know how
you gotta get a good dart. I'm not gonna throw darts at just my wall.
Hey, I've seen people do it. I was watching a video earlier this week where somebody during quarantine got bored and made a giant Hot Wheel track and made it to the point where it takes a bend. And it goes so fast that it just goes right into his wall, and the car is sticking to his wall. And when he wants to use it again, he just pulls the car out of his wall and does it again, and then freaking comes back, makes it a hole in his wall. I'm like, hey, if you're into that kind of thing, more power to you. It was really cool to watch. But I like that magnet dart idea for.
Yes, I feel like I should do this.
That would be sick. X1 in chat if you think Logan should have the.
I should get one.
The country, all outlined with all the states, and then have different colored darts in each state to where it's hit it. There's a flavor ban, green dart, recreational cannabis. I think that would be a great thing. And when he's doing the come down, he can turn around, or when he's doing the rise thing with Bex on Instagram, we're okay, let's look at the updated map.
Every week we can look at the updated map and see where we're at.
I think that would be a great idea. I think that'd be really cool.
How to tie-dye darts. Psilocybin for the win.
I think that would be pretty dope.
Yes.
But
That would be dope.
time to move in the real topic of conversation that might bring in some rage for some people, but I want you to kind of breathe in, breathe out before the rage, because a lot of us in here are probably fans of Marvel Comics. We love the Marvel movies that have probably come out in the past decade. And now there is something that I'm kind of ashamed of to watch, just because I guess this is the first thing I've seen
Cringeworthy.
from comic books that have affected a way of life that I use personally. But before we get into what this is about, I want just to remind you guys that Marvel and when it comes to comic books and the government, they have been partnering with these comic book companies and all that kind of stuff to push propaganda for years. Absolutely, since World War II, since the 60s, everything. They've been pushing agendas and kind of putting in subliminal messages into comic books to a point where it doesn't really faze me anymore. I'm not surprised that it happened. It's just, I guess people are taking it a little bit differently because it's a way of a situation that affects them personally.
Mm-hmm.
So Marvel created an anti-vaping campaign, or a video of a comic. If you go, I'm going to put this link in the chat for you guys, because the video, the chapter 1 of that comic is in the article. It's kind of upsetting because of how deep the propaganda goes to where in that kind of chapter 1 thing, they kind of make people who vape mind-controlled zombie situation, and it's demoralizing, really.
Yeah, it's
if you're a vapor, it kind of makes you seem like that comic makes you feel like scum, kind of. I mean, it sucks. It really does, but don't take it with a grain of salt and kind of take it too personally, because like I was saying before, you look back during the war, World War II, where I know I've seen ones where Uncle Sam was in comic books freaking pointing the finger. How many times did you see a spot where joined the war? I mean, they probably used Captain America as a poster child. That's what the token of Captain America, if you pay attention to the comics, was in Marvel.
Yeah.
And so, promoting the war and everything, and there's a couple things that I was talking to Mr. Breeze Tones, I believe yesterday, we were discussing it yesterday morning, and he sent me over a couple images of older kind of comics that just shows proof that they've been doing either anti-tobacco, anti-hard drugs, and it happened for every kind of prohibitionized substance within the country at one point. They probably had it for alcohol when it was not so on the friendly side of things, and those newspaper snips back in the day for newspaper comics.
I'm sure that somewhere along the lines they ran a PSA on warning teenagers of the dangers of alcohol.
Yeah, so we got alcohol, we got hard drugs, we got tobacco they did it for, and now we have vaping because it's the newest trend to them. They think that because they still assume that most of the people that are reading Marvel Comics are teenagers. But if you think about it now, I would say, in my opinion, the majority of people that are still reading comics a lot of them are adults. Because
like actual physical comics. Yeah, sure. I mean, comics in general have been on the downtrend for a really long time.
Because the whole digital age of things, to where there's an app where you can actually just pretty much download a Marvel comic to your tablet or anything, and you can read it right there. I mean, the age of collecting comic books, like my dad did when he was growing up. I mean, we have some issues of the number 2 issue of Spider-Man downstairs. We have some.
I have a shoebox somewhere of Spider-Man and Ghost Rider comics.
Some of them are impressive. Those are ones that when he passes, he's gonna hand down to me, and I'm not gonna be that person right away to be I'm selling these right away to get the money. No, because the longer these ones age, the more money they're gonna be at the end. So if
yeah.
And plus, that's a piece of history, especially if it's something that you grew up with. Me and Logan probably grew up with Marvel.
Yeah, I mean,
we grew up with them.
Old
superheroes.
School comic
being a kid and idolizing superheroes was such a great thing, I think, and it's still a great thing. But taking this for the propaganda that it is, I wouldn't be too worried to everybody in here that this is something that's just gonna piss people off. I know, Logan, when you did the podcast with Mr. Alex Clark on Saturday, you kind of went on a little bit of a rant.
I had a little bit of a rant.
Just a little bit. So
I had a little bit of a rant about it.
You kind of want to just like paraphrase of what you kind of your thoughts about it are, even though we discussed a lot of this yesterday and everything, but for the people viewing right now, just to kind of give people a little bit of a snip of what your thoughts were about it. I want to get your full opinion on this comic book thing.
So, when it comes to comic books doing PSAs, I don't always think they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times they can be really helpful. I think, they're always a little cringeworthy. It's always a little weird having Captain America talk to you about washing your hands, or having, Supergirl tell you to wear a helmet, but they're helpful, sometimes. I just personally think that in the world of drug use and sex education, things like that, that they deserve a more nuanced conversation. Marvel, this is funded by the real cost, so this is FDA through and through, which first and foremost is extremely upsetting, and I'm curious to see what FDA has to say if and when PMTAs for flavored products get approved, and we look back and we go, really? But we're turning kids into zombies? Isn't that what you just said? The teenagers turning into mindless zombies is dehumanizing, stigmatizing. It's ridiculous, first and foremost. It doesn't do anybody any good. Any teenager out there who's vaping right now that sees this instantly loses credibility and faith in public health right out of the gate, because they go, I'm not a mindless zombie wandering around my high school. Like, this isn't, I'm just vaping right now. You know what I mean? So it instantly creates distrust in public health, which is a really big shame. Marvel has been doing this for a long time. If we go way back, for anybody who's familiar with the Comic Book Code Authority, they are essentially an establishment that sets ground rules, I guess, for comic books. Under their wing. You have to get approval. There's a process to get the little sticker, stamp, whatever, on your comic book that says Comic Book Code Authority on it. And that's to say, that this comic book, this publisher is adhering to these things that we've set forth for, your children's sake, for the age appropriate sake. They've got our stamp of approval. And before 1970, to get that, the Comic Book Code Authority outlawed any use of drugs whatsoever, whether it was in a positive light and a negative light, which is kind of, questionable. Captain America, super soldier serum. I'm going to take a wild shot in the dark and say that's a drug. And there's been a lot of drugs that have created superheroes over the years. So I guess only if it gives you superpowers, then you can do it. Either way, regardless of that, it's quite hypocritical, but still. Stan Lee challenged this in 1970 and decided to take addiction, kind of take it on, and went against the Comic Book Code Authority, started putting PSAs out. It ended up changing the Comic Book Code Authority stance to, we're not going to allow any drug use shown, positive or negative, to only allowing negative showings of drug use.
Yeah.
And that set the premise. That right there sets the premise and immediately stigmatizes and shuns and shames anyone who's using drugs, period.
Yeah.
And they've been doing, this has been this way since the 70s. I mean, we've seen it in it's PSAs, whether it's showing characters using drugs in terrible ways. There's at one point, I think in a Spider-Book comic, one of the character takes quote-unquote hallucinogenic pills and jumps off the roof of a building, has to be saved, and then does it again. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, if you take any hallucinogenics, please have a trip sitter with you, trip safely. The chances of you deciding to jump off a building are pretty much none. pretty null and void. Set and setting are key, though, as always, but it's just one of those things. It's just propaganda. It's drug war, drug trope, anti-drug use propaganda, and it doesn't do anyone any good. It doesn't help our teenagers in any way. If anything, it raises curiosity. It's Dare 2.0. We're seeing it again right now with nicotine all over the place. it doesn't teach kids going to the realm of drug PSAs. It doesn't teach any youth who may decide to go out and use drugs how to do so safely and how to stay alive. And then when when teenagers go and smoke a joint and their heads don't implode and they don't instantly, give up all of their lifelong belongings to go buy more highly addictive cannabis, they lose trust and they go, well, what else have they been lying to me about? Mm-hmm. And teenagers have potential to get into a lot riskier situations at that point because they don't trust any of the information they've been given. None of it's good across the board. It hasn't been good for 50 years and it's not good now.
Here's another article I want to throw in chat for you guys for another good example of kind of how Marvel has used this stuff in the past. It's they going back to an old Amazing Spider-Man comic. So there's an article right here in chat that's a great, amazing read. It's the headline is Amazing Spider-Man Anti-Drug Story Hastened Demise of Comics Code, which it breaks down everything you need to know of like how everything with Stan Lee, like how Logan was saying. But there's so many different. It's not only Marvel that's done this. There's examples of, where is it right here? There's different like little snippets of happening with like newspapers where there's one where the headline is "Kids who take drugs are losers," and it's a kid sitting in a freaking wooden box from back in the 70s, and it's
yeah.
And then it's like,
I mean, when we look at youth who are using drugs, all too often it's a coping mechanism. You've got youth who have been through something traumatic, and they are using drugs for whatever reason, their reasons alone. And so now you have somebody who's most likely going through something traumatic. They're trying to cope. They're using drugs, and then on top of that trauma, we're adding more trauma by stigmatizing them. How is this beneficial to our youth in any capacity? It's just not. It's not helpful.
Look at another image right here where it's actually a Green Lantern and the Green Arrow with a kind of a heroin kind of one where it's heroin, syringe, needle, and below it's a headline says more deadly than the atomic bomb. There's so many, like, this is happening for decades. So it's like how Logan's been explaining that it's doing more harm than good. It's a shitty situation, but like how I said from the beginning, don't take it with a grain of salt just because it's how we explain that the government's been using this kind of thing, like similar to DARE, to push an agenda for decades. And it still is the responsibility of the parent, is still the responsibility of that I think we need to put more into the officials of like schools and stuff that are actually hand in hand with these kids more than your parents growing up, in my opinion, to give them a proper way to actually explain this stuff without these so-called out-of-school kind of activities or things that kids like to do it for you. In my opinion, that's how it should be. It should be more put into the hands of the officials, get proper training and proper ways to explain when it comes to sex, drugs, tobacco, anything. They should have correctly trained officials to explain this stuff and leave it out of the hands of things that your kids enjoy. Which,
I mean, I would like to see, certain things like this just not be in comic books at all.
Yeah.
I think prior to Stan Lee challenging the Comic Book Code Authority in the 70s, I think comic books having no drug information is probably better than comic books having nothing but propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. And again, I don't think all PSAs in comic books are bad. I think some of them are corny, but maybe helpful. You know what I mean? They're always a little weird and cringeworthy. When Spider-Man tells you to make sure you wear knee pads when you go skateboarding. But, maybe the next time you go skateboarding, little 8-year-old, and you're like, oh, Spider-Man wears knee pads. I'll wear knee pads. And that's cool. That's a great PSA. Yeah. Stay safe, kids. That's awesome. But when we're doing it through misinformation and stigmatizing harmful messaging, I think that comic books should just not.
Yeah, there's a certain point to where a PSA in a comic is, I'm okay with that kind of on the fence line, and then crossing the fence and just like, this is completely unnecessary, you're going to do more harm.
Yeah.
Like, because then you're going to do thing attitude and you put it in chat, it's going to create curiosity, and that does more harm than good. in my opinion. The moment you get them curious about it, even if they're showing it in a bad light, it's the moment they see it.
And I can tell you right now, if I was 13, 14 years old, and I saw this Marvel issue of vaping and how it's turning everyone in high school into a zombie, and I'm already looking around and seeing my friends or classmates or whatever that may be vaping as well, and none of them are zombies, chances are I'm going to go, well, now I'm going to give that a shot. Let's see if I turn into a zombie. You know, the challenging authority 13-year-old me would have gone, let's see if I turn into a zombie.
Dare is the biggest example of it is of all times. It's one of the biggest failures when it comes to educating students.
Yeah, that's why they're not government funded.
I've ever seen in my life, because I remember you told me the story yesterday of when when Dare comes into your school and they pass around joints to everybody.
Oh yeah, so I had an architectural CAD teacher in high school tell me this story, and he was teaching at another school at the time. This was years ago, mind you. This might have been in the 80s. But regardless, he was teaching a class, Dare, and a police officer came into the classroom to teach kids about the dangers of cannabis, you know, and the Dare officer brought 2 joints with him and passed them around the class. You want to raise curiosity in teenagers? Literally put a joint in their hand. Okay, tell them no, it's not for you, but
you
literally
just
put it in
passed
their
the lighter around with it, and you just light this guy up and just relax.
Oh my God, there's already so many issues, but regardless of all of that, passed around 2, the officer got 3 back.
I think that's
someone in class was like, "This is a golden opportunity."
Just
to just
imagine the police officer's
well.
reaction to where he's like looking down. He's like, 1, 2, 3. What?
There's one different, right? There's one good one there, you know. But it's just been a failed program since the start. It's just a failed approach. Period.
Yeah, I guess
if you want to look at good quality drug education for specifically high schoolers, I would say look at Drug Policy Alliance Safety First program. I think it should be implemented across the board, across the country, in every school. That would be great. But if you're curious about their approach and how Drug Policy Alliance, you know, is trying to educate the youth of today, I think it's a really great program, and I think people should look into it.
I think kind of thing that should be a kind of class in like high schools and stuff where people are getting to that age of experimenting into like heavier drugs, to have classes to where if you see somebody in the process of overdosing, to be able to like put them up, have them freaking like put their head up so they're not like choking on their tongue kind of situation. If they're having a seizure, have them to where they're not hitting something.
I think every classroom should have Narcan.
Yeah.
I think every school should have Narcan. I think everyone should just carry Narcan. Just in general, just go get Narcan, carry it. Keep it in I keep it in my lunch bag. So when I go to work and I travel, because I go all over the place, I'm inner city, I'm out wherever, I've got Narcan in my bag.
Because teaching the students to be mindful of a situation that may not be a good situation, and being able to have the possibility of saving a life. Yeah, that's something that I think 100%.
Sure, absolutely.
100%. It's just one of those things. It sucks to see it happening because it's something that we're all fans of. We're all probably fans of Marvel Comics. We're all fans of the movies that have come out. I doubt they're going to start pushing that kind of agenda into the movies because I've never seen.
No, and again, this is a real cost campaign thing. Most PSAs in Marvel or DC Comics they're either NGO or they're nonprofit, or sometimes they're government funded. Rarely do comic book companies actually like put this stuff out completely on their own.
Yeah,
that's a rare day. I don't know if they ever have, to be honest with you. Maybe very early on, Stan Lee did, but they're always funded by some organization or some agency, some government agency, you know, pushing whether it be good information or really, really terrible information.
Yeah, so it's just be mindful of the stuff that they're putting out there. Be aware that this stuff is going to keep happening. As long as the government considers the vaping youth epidemic a thing,
until
we're going to continue to see this stuff happen.
Until we get rid of the Controlled Substances Act in this country,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just keep that in mind, that this isn't going to be the first time we're going to see something like this, and not to get angry about it right off the bat, just because this whole like go against Marvel ever since it's come out. It's just
I'm not trying to boycott Marvel.
No
I'm not
boycott
trying to
Marvel.
get
Don't boycott
distracted.
comic books, because this stuff's been happening since a lot of us in chat have been alive.
I mean, you can, and I think it's. How do I want to word this? I don't want people to spend a whole lot of time on this. There's a lot of things going on right now in regards to whether it be harm reduction efforts, drug decriminalization / legalization, vaping, tobacco harm reduction in general in this country. There's a lot of things going on that deserve our attention, or a lot of our attention. I don't know if this is a big one, but it never hurts to call out shitty, stigmatizing, harmful messaging when you see it. That's what I ask from people, is
Like,
that
you
when
should
you
be
see something, just say something. You know, somebody on Twitter recently kind of told me that this was a waste of time. It was a waste of my effort to call it out. I don't think so. If I tweet about it, it takes me a minute and a half to write a tweet and send a tweet. There's not a whole lot of effort wasted going into that. And if you're calling out shitty messaging, do it. I mean, there's bigger things to worry about. I'm not trying to bring down Marvel. I don't think we should collectively try to bring down, comic book companies. That's absurd and ridiculous. I would just appreciate if they didn't do these things. And when you see stigmatizing, harmful messaging, call it out.
And if there's anything that you should be boycotting when it comes to this, you shouldn't be boycotting Marvel. You should be boycotting the real cost.
FDA. Yeah, absolutely.
They're the ones providing this information to Marvel. Marvel's only there to illustrate it and put it into images. That's what the writers are doing, and kind of creating a semi-story about it. Most likely the real cost got a hold of them and said, this is kind of a blanket story we want you to do. Illustrate it for us. And here's a briefcase full of money to do it. And that's what they did. So, in the end of the day, you shouldn't be mad at Marvel for this. You should be mad at the real cost, aka the FDA, for continuously putting out misinformation.
You can be mad at Marvel. It's okay.
It's okay to be mad at them, but I feel like more of your anger should be pushed towards the FDA and the real cost. Which, at the end of the day, they're the ones that funded this. They're the ones that, at the end of the day, backed the information, brought it to Marvel's attention, and pretty much paid for Marvel to put it out there. So,
yeah. And if you're going to
what it
boycott
is.
Marvel, you might as well just boycott Disney.
Yeah.
Just
And
boycott
that's like,
Disney.
then that's when you'll have
Boycott
Mickey Mouse
Fox
coming to
while
your...
we're at it for DC.
The moment you start boycotting Disney and like saying bad about Disney, Mickey Mouse is going to come to your house with a machine gun and be like, "What are you saying?" That's how it happens.
For real, bro. And
They don't mess around. You don't mess with Disney. They
like
they
Steamboat
fight
Mickey.
back.
Yeah.
You don't want
I
to.
probably said that wrong. I don't know what old school Mickey is called, but
It's like,
I just picture like Steamboat Mickey with a Tommy gun.
no, I just imagine how Mickey Mouse was in South Park, and he was just some kind of
Yeah, exactly.
racist pig that's just.
I hope Nick's still not here because he's gonna be real upset about us talking shit about Mickey Mouse.
Oh, if he was, we'd probably get an angry message from him.
Yeah. He's gonna DM me later and be like, Logan, we're not friends anymore.
Like, you son of a bitch. I thought we had something special. But at the end of the day, guys, it is what it is. Don't be like how Logan said. There's more president things out there right now to like kind of push your anger towards and push your kind of advocacy message across to. It's just this is one of those little minor things out there that it is what it is. It happened. Kind of just take it for what it is situation and just move forward and
Doesn't hurt to call it.
continue fighting the good fight, because there are plenty of more fights that need to be fought, and you can guarantee that
There's a whole bunch of call to actions out right now, so make sure you head over to Casa
let's
and check them out.
before we get out of here, let's go over to Casa and reiterate what some of those call to actions are, just so you guys are up to date. But if you want to see them for yourselves, you can always go to casa.org, or you can always go in the link in the description down below. Casa's website's right there. Go to state, go to the Get Involved section, and go to state and local to find out where you are. And like, it's so well done to where it's like has all the
Alaska
states.
has stuff going on. Missouri has stuff going on.
Okay, I can
Texas
answer
has
my own
stuff
question
going
now.
on.
Idaho is connected to Oregon because I
There
have
you
the map
go.
in front of me.
Look at that. Just go to Casa for all your resource needs.
So there's a few
Everything you need.
things.
You need a map? Just go to Casa.
Yeah, you're hitting two birds with one stone practically.
Yeah.
So we still got the bill in Texas. There's a vapor tax in Texas, HB 211, which is still in effect, I believe. So you want to oppose that bill because what were they saying? How much of a tax it would be? I don't see anything when it comes to tax. Oh, a 5 cent per mil tax.
Yeah.
So hearing is on Monday, which already happened. So keep an eye out for that. See if it kind of pushes through any more, because there's a couple bills in Texas that people need to be keeping an eye on because there's a full-on flavor ban in there as well. But let's see.
Yeah, I think there's a couple flavor bans in Texas right now.
Missouri, I believe this is the one to where you don't want to oppose it. You want to be for this. The Missouri one's the one you want to be for, right?
I believe so.
Where
it'll stay right on. Because
let's see. So
it's been a long day.
Missouri, stop the local assault on safer nicotine products. So public health hearing updated. HB scheduled to be a public hearing Wednesday, April 14th. So today.
So we'll know more.
Please take a moment to submit your witness form in support of HB 517.
Missouri's the preemption stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're in Missouri,
we would much rather have the state deciding public health things like vaping regulations as opposed to a whole bunch of municipalities with like 4 people making the decision.
Yeah.
That's just a terrible thing.
Yeah,
Cities and towns are not well equipped enough to make major public health decisions
and plus
like this.
Enforcement of those decisions would be just asinine and almost impossible to enforce.
So because they're just going to go over to the next township, right? It's just much better that the state
take care of that kind
tackle
of thing.
these issues as opposed to municipalities. So yeah, Missouri is one that you wanna support.
And then we got a flavor ban in Bloomington, Minnesota, which is there's a public hearing
Minnesota.
On this proposal scheduled for Monday, April 26th. So make sure if you're in the state of Minnesota, if you want to go out to this public hearing, mark your calendars for Monday the 26th. Go out there, get a hold of your local legislator, tell them that you're opposed of this flavor ban coming into there, and just make sure you're getting involved. Go to there, protest, do your due diligence, and be involved in what is going on in your local state. And because we don't want another flavor ban going through in another state, especially if it's more of a town kind of thing, but that's how many hundreds of people that are probably still smoking cigarettes that are going to lose that opportunity to get off of it. And then we have, I think this is Montgomery County, Maryland is moving forward with a proposal to double the excise tax on vapor products. If enacted, the new tax would be 60% of wholesale, doubling the current tax of 30%. Jesus Christ. That is ridiculous. So there is a public hearing scheduled for Tuesday, April 27th. So if you're in the state of Maryland, and you automatically should be opposed to this bill, because then it would just up the prices of anything you want to purchase from a shop or maybe something like that in Maryland would just be ridiculous. So It's only available for remote testimony only, so probably be like a Zoom meeting where you get into a Zoom call and kind of put out your testimony like that. Kind of like how...
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they...
Kind of think that's what Rhode Island did with theirs.
Yeah.
So like a remote testimony. So you can either click and there's a little hot link right there if you go to the call to action where it says sign up to speak online, or you can submit a written testimony. But there's also a phone number there. I'll put that if you're in the state of Maryland. Just go to the call to action. You'll see everything you need to see on there. But do your due diligence. Do what you have to do, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now when it comes to just more call to actions. There's always going to be more coming in. There's going to be probably more by the time you talk to me and Logan. Not next week, but the week after. So we'll probably have more to talk about then. But just keep on fighting the good fight, guys. It's going to be...
I agree wholeheartedly.
It's not... it's going to be a difficult road we have to go down in the future. But I've been kind of saying this, like Nick says it, Logan says it. Vaping's not going to die. It's not. Because you kind of have to look at things how other kind of full circle effects have come into thing when it comes to everything that has been prohibitionized in this country have all come back full circle.
Nope.
Okay, not all things, okay? But like
There's
the
a
things
lot
that
of
I
things
know.
in this country that are still highly prohibited. I understand your sentiment, though.
So, when it comes to alcohol, marijuana, vaping is we're still in the beginning stages of that, guys. So,
Yeah, I think harm reduction, we're at a point now, we're at a really big turning point in harm reduction in this country. There's finally federal funding for fentanyl test strips, and they're not going to be considered paraphernalia anymore. When we look at the history of harm reduction and we look back to people illegally doing needle exchanges out of the trunks of their cars just to help their communities and help their friends out and save lives. And now we have syringe exchange programs across the country. So when it comes to harm reduction, this fight is very, very unique in tobacco. We're in the tobacco space. We're in a highly stigmatized, shamed space. But harm reduction in general, we are in the middle of a very big movement now. And we just have to continue what we're doing. We just have to continue to be heard, and we have to continue to be loud, and we have to continue to, do e-liquid exchanges out of the trunks of our cars until
100%.
we have e-liquid exchanges across the country. If that's what it takes. Like that, it's a history of harm reduction. We're in it in our part of it, I guess.
yeah, it's just...
But we'll get there.
Yeah,
We'll
we're going to get there. We're going to get past this.
There's just a lot of harm that's going to be done until we do. And that's the unfortunate part of it.
But as long as we're here to kind of do our part, help out others in need that are in need of it, we're gonna all get through this. I think we're gonna be able to get through it. Just community is what this industry needs right now, and me, Logan, all you guys in chat, Nick Green, all the other people that are fighting the good fight on the advocacy side of things, we'll be at the front lines doing what we can to make sure we can help out everybody else, because it's what we want to do, and there's no stopping us. But guys, that is what we have for you guys this evening. Thank you everybody in chat for hanging out. Greatly appreciate every single one of you coming in, tuning in. Hit that like button on the way out. It will always help us let you know that you guys enjoy the content we are putting out for you guys every other week. I guess you wouldn't be coming here if you didn't enjoy what we come out, because we just have no views if
I
nobody
think they just come for the beards.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
that could be a thing. But
that's what it is.
you guys are awesome. Of course, thank you to my co-host, Mr. Logan, for always coming on and doing this stuff with me.
And thank you for being a fantastic human being, Corey.
I try. It's you got to do what you can. So, guys, thank you everybody for tuning in. You guys are amazing. Addie, thank you for all the links. You are the advocacy link guru when it comes to being a moderator on YouTube.
Eddie Tooney is my spirit animal.
He is
I
my.
think I've settled into this idea.
He doesn't know it yet, but he might be adopting me soon. So
Oh, congratulations!
I'm just waiting for him to be like, oh fuck.
You're just gonna get like adoption papers in the mail now.
Yeah, it's like, if I have any medical bills, Addie, I'll make sure to send them your way. Just so you said
Thanks, Dad.
You said indiscreetly that you would help me out, but you didn't say it. But I'm still assuming you said it. So thank you again for taking care of all of my medical bills, Addie.
Addie says he's just here for the tacos.
I don't know what kind of tacos you're getting. I'm wearing pants today, so.
Oh dear. I'm glad that you're wearing pants right now. I think that's a great place to end this show. Yeah. Thank you everybody for coming out and tuning in and hanging out with us while me and Corey rant and rave and talk about all the latest and greatest news and things that are happening. Much love to you guys. Stay safe. Stay cloudy. And
We'll
see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
hope you guys have a fantastic time until then. You can always find me and Logan on Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, let's just keep on vaping, guys.
That's it.
See ya. Boom.